So the NFL Draft Combine's officially over, and now we got a bunch of new information about each and every player in the NFL Draft. So I figured it was the best time possible for me to make my post-NFL Draft Combine mock draft. Now, before we get started, guys, this is a brand new football channel, so please take a moment to drop a like and subscribe, because every subscription and like, and everyone that joins my notification squad, really helps the channel grow. I don't want to spend too much time on the intros because mock drafts tend to be very long. Understand that I'll probably have more analysis in the beginning of the rounds, and for some players more than others. And one last thing, guys, I made this mock draft without any trades. I really want to make a mock draft that includes trades, so if you'd be interested in seeing that, let me know in the comment section down below, and also post your own mock drafts and picks that you do not agree with that I made, and provide your analysis. With the first pick in the NFL Draft, no surprises here, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow out of LSU. The Bengals definitely need a change in culture. They have someone that's considered to be a quarterback guru as Zach Taylor as their head coach, and it's fairly obvious the only way Joe Burrow isn't going to be this pick is if he just happens to refuse to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. But Joe Burrow already said that he'll play for whoever drafts him, so he is locked in at #1 overall, which means that the second overall pick, the Washington Redskins get to choose the best player in the NFL Draft in my opinion, and that's Chase Young. I would originally have the Redskins trading down over here, but we're not including trades in this draft. So with no trades happening whatsoever, and considering the fact that the Redskins appear to be in the midst of a crazy rebuild, they have the luxury of taking a transcendent edge rusher in Chase Young. Now, the third pick in the NFL Draft, I have the Detroit Lions throwing us their very first curveball over here and drafting Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. So a lot of you guys might be saying, why wouldn't Jeffrey Okudah be coming out from here? Because I'm a huge believer that if you need help with your linebackers, you need someone that could potentially cover the quarterback as well, or stop the run. You should try to focus on that as opposed to taking a potential transcendent cornerback. Now, of course, a lot of people think that Okudah to the Lions is like a guaranteed thing, considering the fact that Darius Slay isn't very happy over there. But in this scenario, I have the Lions focusing on being able to develop their linebacking core before focusing on defensive backs, which I consider to be the icing on the cake on any defense. Now, with the fourth overall pick, the New York Giants are going to take Tristan Wirfs. I think this is one of those scenarios where need completely meets talent, and the Giants are set to go. They already have some promising wide receiver prospects. Daniel Jones has shown some upside. Saquon Barkley is an absolute beast. They just need to focus on something that they've been struggling to focus on for the past 5 years, and that's their offensive line. They've really tried their best to beef up their offensive line, whether it's in free agency or in the draft, and they just happen to whiff consistently. So hopefully David Gettleman will get this right this time. I know a lot of Giants fans would like Jerry Jeudy to come in and replace the void that Odell Beckham left there, but when you're trying to build a successful NFL team, you have to go with substance as opposed to flash. Sometimes this is a very deep wide receiver draft, so I'm sure the New York Giants are still going to be able to get a quality wide receiver later on in the draft. Now, at the #5 pick, I have the Miami Dolphins fulfilling their manifest destiny in drafting Tua Tagovailoa. I can't help but feel horrible for Josh Rosen. I've never seen a career go as poorly as Josh Rosen's, because this guy literally got drafted in the first round 2 years ago by the Arizona Cardinals. After 1 year with a head coach that they decided not to keep, he got traded to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins barely started him here this past season and opted for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and without really giving Josh Rosen a chance to develop, it appears as if he's going to be a career backup at this point, or just damaged goods. But Tua Tagovailoa is just too good to pass up on. He is a franchise-changing talent with a absolutely quick release and a phenomenal ability to stay mobile and create plays out of the pocket. You just can't pass up on a player like that. Now, the #6 pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers drafting Justin Herbert out of Oregon, and this I'm assuming is going to be more of a developmental pick. I'm assuming that the Chargers are going to sign a quarterback in the offseason because there are so many dominoes left to fall in free agency, but I feel like the ideal situation is draft your QB of the future, have a bridge quarterback in the meantime, and just have Justin Herbert develop in the background as you're trying to also win in the now, because the Chargers have a pretty good team. They just need the correct quarterback to guide them there. Now, with the 7th overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Derrick Brown, a defensive end out of Auburn, and this is where the story of Jeffrey Okudah begins to become more and more apparent. We start to wonder, why is no one taking Jeffrey Okudah? How is he sliding down so much? As much as the Carolina Panthers could use some help at the cornerback position, I feel like they definitely need significantly more help on their edge, way more. Derrick Brown has the talent to be chosen in the top 5, in my opinion. I think he'd go as high as a number 3 overall pick, but Carolina needs a replacement for Gerald McCoy in the interior of its defensive line, and Derrick Brown could either be a defensive tackle or a defensive end. He has great size at 6'5", and he could be a great interior disruptor if he lives up to his potential. Which brings us to the number 8 overall pick, and the Arizona Cardinals at this point are literally looking at Jeffrey Okudah, but you have to understand, if you watched Cardinal games last year, there was one thing that was apparent, and it was the fact that Kyler Murray was never able to just sit back in a clean pocket and just execute the air raid offense. It seems like he was always running for his life. So as tempting it is to take the best player in the NFL draft right now, the Cardinals opt for Jedrick Wills out of Alabama, who's an offensive tackle, to finally give Kyler Murray some protection. You've invested a number 1 overall pick in Kyler Murray and potentially have his career wind up like Cam Newton and Andrew Luck. You want to protect your quarterback as soon as possible, and that's why the Cardinals are opting for an offensive tackle from Alabama as opposed to Jeffrey Okudah. Now, this is where things get crazy, because the Jacksonville Jaguars, in my opinion, have gotten really lucky in the NFL draft. Last year, Josh Allen literally fell into their laps. This year, it appears as if the Jaguars are going to be able to get another steal by drafting Jeffrey Okudah at the 9th overall pick. This is beautiful because they just traded Jalen Ramsey, and their defense is kind of going through an overhaul. They're going through a transition phase, as they had a lot of success at first with this brand new Tom Coughlin era. Now they haven't been as successful, and they're looking to reestablish their identity as one of the best defensive teams in the NFL. This is the prime way to do it. You know, Jalen Ramsey leaves. Jeffrey Okudah is probably one of the best prospects we've seen since Jalen Ramsey. This is the pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I feel like Okudah could be that culture-setting cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm going to try to speed up here until we get to the names that we really know. So the Cleveland Browns at the 10th overall spot, I have them taking Mekhi Becton, which is an offensive lineman. This is, if the Cleveland Browns can't find a way to trade for the Washington Redskins offensive tackle Trent Williams, then this is the pick that they're probably going to make in order to further protect Baker Mayfield. With the 11th overall pick, I have the New York Jets making the same decision with Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. They just need an offensive tackle to protect Sam Darnold, although it would be very dope to see Jerry Jeudy go over here. You always have to protect your quarterback over getting him a shiny new weapon in a wide receiver, which means with the number 12 pick in the NFL draft, the Las Vegas Raiders finally get their number 1 wide receiver, and they draft Jerry Jeudy. The Raiders have been starving for a very exciting wide receiver to pair with Derek Carr. Derek Carr was 2nd in the league in completion percentage last year. He threw for 4,000 yards last year. He had one of his best years last year, and a lot of us seem to be sleeping on that. And now the Raiders are able to get him a weapon that he deserves, someone that he could lean on, someone that he could just air the ball out to. But bear in mind, Jerry Jeudy isn't a athletic freak of nature like Julio Jones. He's considered to be better than Calvin Ridley was, but in terms of athleticism, he's somewhere in between that. And the Raiders are going to love him because he has a great football IQ and has tremendous work ethic. This is a John Gruden type player. Now, with the 13th pick, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking Henry Ruggs III. Now, I understand why a lot of people would be like, why would they take Henry Ruggs III? You have to understand that the Colts, their current identity is based off of their defense. They could definitely use some more help offensively. They're in a position to take the best offensive player available at this point, and that's Henry Ruggs III. Now, a lot of people would like to see a quarterback being drafted here, but if you ask me, I think it's way too quick to potentially see a player like Jordan Love coming off of the board over here. If you think that they're really desperate, I could see me in my next mock draft potentially having them reach for Jordan Love, but I feel like Jordan Love wouldn't be coming off the board for them unless if they traded down. With the 14th pick pick in the NFL draft, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Noah Iguinogin out of Auburn, who's a cornerback. And the reason why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would go here is because they have already rounded out a phenomenal pass rush last year. Shaq Barrett and Ndamukong Suh brought in exactly what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed on the defensive line and in the pass rush. Now they just need to add the finishing touches with a promising cornerback prospect, which means with the 15th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Denver Broncos selecting Justin Jefferson out of LSU. And this is very important because if there's one thing that we've noticed, is that the Denver Broncos seem to have found their quarterback in the future in Drew Lock. They just need to get him some weapons, and that's why I think Justin Jefferson's a perfect fit here. With the 16th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Patrick Queen out of LSU. And I just feel like the Atlanta Falcons' biggest problem last year was their defense was really beginning to fall off. So I could really see them taking even Clavin Kayson over here out of LSU. But no matter what, I know they're going to either go defense, they're going to go defensive end, or they're going to go linebacker over here, because they were just terrible last year when it came to their defense. Their offense was very inconsistent, but I feel like they mainly fed off of their defense. Now, with the 17th overall pick, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Grant Delpit out of LSU. The Cowboys tried to get Earl Thomas last season, but they weren't able to do it. There's always been this gigantic hole at safety for the Cowboys, so they desperately need to get a safety in this draft, and that's where Delpit comes in. Now, with the 18th pick, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting DeAndre Swift out of Georgia, who's a running back. I personally view running backs to be a crapshoot. They can either live up to the hype or they cannot. I'm very confident in the culture that the Dolphins are creating, so I feel like DeAndre Swift is a good pick here, and his best vision is his ball carrier vision, so I hope it works out for them. With the 19th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Kenneth Murray, a linebacker out of Oklahoma. And there's two positions that the Raiders really are zeroing in on during their rebuild this year. One's linebacker, one's wide receiver. The first pick could easily be a linebacker over a wide receiver, but I felt like Jerry Jeudy was too good to pass up on, so I have them taking him in this order this time around. And John Gruden could potentially try to find his new Derek Brooks over here. Now, with the 20th pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars select Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. The Jaguars needed some offensive tackle help, so I feel like Ezra Cleveland will really bring a better protection for Gardner Minshew. I know they're trying to move on from Nick Foles, but of course, when you have a new quarterback, especially in his second year, you want to protect him at all costs. With the 21st pick in the NFL draft, and Jesus, man, I really hope this doesn't happen, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Jalen Raigarh out of TCU. Now, I made a video on Raigarh saying that I wasn't very impressed with his combine, but I think he'll fit in perfectly with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's extremely fast and can go the distance, and this is going to be interesting because it's going to really spite CeeDee Lamb, who I have going number 22 to the Buffalo Bills. Now, I really like the idea of CeeDee Lamb on the Buffalo Bills because Josh Allen has this incredible arm that we have occasionally seen, but we don't always see. And I feel like CeeDee Lamb's going to truly bring out the best in him. He's a great route runner with great hands. I can't wait to see this happen. Now, with the 23rd pick, and as this mock draft is starting to get very long, guys, so I'm just going to say names here. With the 23rd pick, I have the New England Patriots selecting AJ Epineza, who's an edge rusher. With the 24th pick, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting Clavin Kayson, who's also an edge rusher. With the 25th pick of the NFL draft, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting Javon Kinlaw, who is a defensive lineman. The 26th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Antoine Winfield Jr. in order to potentially replace Rashad Jones, who has just recently been cut. With the 27th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Austin Jackson, an offensive tackle out of USC. With the 28th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Malik Harrison, a linebacker out of Ohio State. The 29th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Yetur Gross-Matos, who's also a defensive end out of Penn Penn State. With the 30th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Jordan Love, who is a developmental quarterback out of Utah State. And this is supposed to be the guy that they're trying to develop as Aaron Rodgers rounds out his career with the Packers. There's already been rumors of the Packers trying to potentially move on from him. They're not going to obviously move on from him yet, but it's a good idea to get Jordan Love and have him sit behind A-Rod a little bit. The 31st pick in the NFL draft, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Jacob Eason, who is also going to be their developmental quarterback depending on how their offseason goes. Who are they going to end up signing as their bridge quarterback in the free agency? We'll have to see. And with the 32nd pick in the NFL draft, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Jalen Johnson, who's a cornerback out of Utah. So let me know what you guys think about my picks. I'm trying to figure out a way how to make these mock drafts shorter, guys. But if you enjoy the content, be sure to drop a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Let me know if you disagree with any of these picks. I'm your boy, Mikerophone, and I'll catch you guys later.